Welcome back to another episode of Just My Baby Daddy podcast. It's your boy AJ.
Is Eli?
Yo, so you just giving up on giving yourself a name or anything now, right?
Hey man, I'm gonna
No
figure. I gotta
more, no
figure out
more
another
bougie
one.
baby daddy. No more
Nah, I gotta figure it out.
sophisticated. Just
I might go with Coach because I don't
Coach
never get a
Eli.
break. Yeah, I might go with Coach Eli.
Well, today we are happy to have a fellow podcaster. Which is great. I love having people that actually do what we do and understand like what it takes to actually get this done. We have Mr. Anthony Rehe, host of Dad Can We Talk podcast, and it's a podcast that's just like us about Black fatherhood. I love it. Love to see it. Glad to have you on the show.
For sure. Man, appreciate y'all for inviting me on, man. I've been, like you say, when we was in Jersey and you told me about it, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that for sure.
So basically, AJ told me we gotta invite somebody on that like to talk like us, so that way we can ask questions and we ain't have to do all the talking. Because he told me that you talk a lot, so we about to
Oh, yeah,
see
for sure.
now. So we gotta give you the runway so you can go with it. So don't let me down.
All right. Sound good to me.
And
Bet.
so what we're gonna do, we're gonna start you off the same way we start off everybody with our first question is, what does it mean to you to be a father?
Ooh. What does it mean to be a father? I believe fathers are multifaceted. I believe we wear a lot of hats. We play a lot of roles. And I believe that's what a father is. A father isn't one dimensional like society tells us a lot of times. Society wants us to be just providers. And I am of the belief that a father is so much more than a provider. I believe that we are providers, we're protectors. I believe that we can be nurturers. I believe that we should be teachers. We're leaders. Um, a father is all of those things all into one. And so when our kids and our significant others, when our families look to us, our communities look to us, they should see all those things, or at least some of it. We ain't gonna all be all of it, but they should see something that looks like that. I say,
Right. So, I mean, if you're talking about fathers needing to be multifaceted to be a father, well, what do you think makes a great father?
ooh, I think a great father. When I think of fathers, from my perspective, I look to the father. I am a believer, and I believe that um, I don't believe that I could truly be the father a great father like I want to be without understanding the father, um,
Mm-hmm.
the Most High. And the Most High teaches me how to be the father. That's like when I think of being a father, that's my framework. I look at the way that the Most High dealt with Israel. Um, when you look at the way he dealt with Israel, you see a loving, kind father, but sometimes you see a father that's gonna get on your behind and
Mm-hmm.
don't mind dealing with you and chastising you and doing whatever he has to do to bring his sheep back into the fold.
Right.
Even if it has to be putting curse on you or whatever it is, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna bring you back. So when I look at a great father isn't one who just loves his kids, And when I say love them, is lovey dovey and soft, which I do believe we should be that. But also when the when your child is doing something against what you said, you can also sit them aside and okay, let's have a conversation. You know,
Mm.
uh, there must be a rod of discipline, and not necessarily beating,
Mm-hmm.
but getting the understanding with that child and putting uh, boundaries in place. If you do this, then I do this. If you don't do this, then I'll do this. And putting rules and boundaries in place. Um, there's so many. I think like when you're a great dad, man, it's I believe you're involved more than anything else. I would say, uh, being involved and really being there. Like you're not just at home, but you're involved when you're at home. You're
Right.
involved in every aspect of their life when it comes to school. The education, um, teaching them. Raising them up with respect. All of these types of things. And I also believe that a great father is a father not just to his own children, but to those in his community. Being a great example and a leader in his community.
Got you. Got
Well,
you.
I want to piggyback off of what you said a little bit. So you said, you know, you learn how to be a father from following the Most High, right?
Hmm.
Well, who in the physical form would you say that you mimicked or you learned from to teach you how to be a father?
Mm. Man, that's a difficult one for me, honestly. And that's something that I still struggle with to this day. Um, when I first became a dad back in 2012, 2013, um, I was a part of a ministry at the time, and my former pastor, um, he was the guy that I looked to. Honestly, he was a
Mm.
guy, the first man in my life that really took me in up under his wing and taught me about life. My dad wasn't there to show me those things, and when I met my pastor back in 2011, that was the first time I seen a man that I looked up to, and I was like, dang, this man got kids. He's married, and he's just doing things that I want to do. He was a positive dude. Just when he met me, sat down with me and talked with me. Just it just literally took me up under his wing. Him and some of the other guys that were a part of the church, and all of them were married, and all of them were fathers. And around that time, I wasn't married at the time, and I didn't have kids. And
Hmm.
so I told myself, I want to be like these dudes. They're respectful. They got they had credibility in the community, and I'm like, I'm gonna be like these cats, man. And they were also real. They looked like me. They dressed like me. They talked like me. And I seen the way that they dealt with their children, and I'm like, dang, well, I wish I had a daddy like that. You know. And so uh, throughout the years, I fell off with my pastor and a lot of the guys at my church, uh, especially as of 2020. I kind of fell off, especially with my pastor. We don't talk anymore, period.
Right.
But I would say during those years when we were together, he was the only person that I really looked up to. Him, and I give my boy Sean Nico, my boy Sean, and my boy Jason King. Those were like the three guys that I really looked to when it came to people in the physical. And if I had to throw one more in there, my older brother, he's a single dad, and he has full custody of his
Mm.
son. He has for the last 10 years, or over 10 years now. And great dad, man. And to see what he did, knowing that he's in the same boat as me, growing up without a dad,
Hmm.
and to see what he was doing, I was like, damn, like I can't do nothing but respect that. To see how he stood up in the paint like that with his son.
Right.
So one of the things that you said, I think is very, very important is you said you looked up to them because they taught like you and they looked like you, right? That's something that I believe is very important. That the image of what a black dad looks like should look just like a
Yeah,
regular fucking person. Like you don't gotta look like Superman. You ain't the black dad is not the dad you walk home and everybody yells daddy and you sit home and y'all all eat dinner at the table together. Like, nah, man. Like I'm what a black dad looks like. Eli's what a black dad looks like. You're what a black dad looks like. Like just you know what I mean? Because it's so often that at least for me, in my mind, I used to think like a black dad would have to be almost like whatever you saw on TV because you didn't really see
Believe
what a
that.
real black dad really was or really looked like, right? But then as you got older and I started hanging around my friends and I realized my friends, man, we're fathers now and we're active fathers. And we look nothing like these niggas I've seen on TV. We
Believe
had
that.
nothing like it. You know what I mean? And so that's very important. That type of representation is very important to have. Very important to have.
Real talk.
I got you. I'm gonna let you slide on that because I kind of disagree with that a little bit because we said you said two different things in that one statement. You said first of all, a black dad didn't look like a superhero or something because these pictures that you have in your mind. Then you said they look like a regular person. What the father looks like to me is not based on what you see, is what them kids see. Because do you feel like your kids don't see you as a superhero?
Yeah. What I meant by superhero is like it seemed unrealistic.
Okay.
Like the dads I saw were
I gotta follow up to
unrealistic
that. I
for
gotta
that
follow
part.
up to that. Because if you look at all the 90s TV shows, right? Be honest. We know somebody that is in the walk of life of almost every black father that was on TV.
I do now.
If you look in the 70s or when did Good Times come out? When did all these other shows come out? We
Yeah, the
know a black
70s.
father that's in every socioeconomic class, have different varying levels of education, varying life experiences. Now looking back at it, I really think those TV shows are representative. Now, all the happy go lucky, that's the dramatization of it. But if you take it on the surface level and look beyond the theatrics, we know a black father that's in every single one of those positions right now or have
Yeah.
experienced them. You know what I mean? As far as
Now maybe
conversations
I do
throughout
now.
life. Go ahead.
Well, you know what? You know what might be true about that? Maybe we shouldn't have been watching them damn shows as kids.
They were
That
too
probably
advanced
had a
for
lot to
us.
do with it. You know
Exactly
what I'm
right.
saying? So just from that aspect, like, yeah, this, like, because to be honest, at 9 years old, my kids ain't really watching what I'm watching because they got alternative
No.
stuff to watch. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so while the other adults may have seen stuff like that, I didn't because my friends don't necessarily got their dad, so I don't see that representation to see that at all. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Not even super. It just seemed like who sits at home and has dinner all the time together? Like who
I
does
told you
that?
that's the theatrics of it.
Yeah.
That's the theatrics of it.
No, but there are some people that I know that do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like or
Mm-hmm.
even sitting there having let's make sure we have Sunday or having dinner together. Like when you don't have that or really see that, it doesn't even seem realistic. Like it's something people
Right.
really do.
Right. But
You know
see,
what I
that's
mean?
the only reason I wanted to counter that a little bit is we have a lot of these conversations. We see a lot of these conversations, and they always point to those again. Let's just put them all in a bucket. 90 sitcoms with these fathers that don't really exist, and I can't hear that anymore because I don't believe that's true. You know what I mean? As you meet more people, as you have more life experience, you see the premise behind what they were showing us at that time. It's just I'm kind of tired of hearing people say, "Nah, that doesn't exist." Cliff being a doctor, that doesn't. Man, we know doctors. You know what I mean? We know attorneys that are fathers. We know successful people. We know people that are still trying to figure out where the next meal coming from. So people saying that's kind of insane to me at this point of
Yeah.
in time. You know what I mean?
You know what?
I,
You're right. You're right.
I just think back then when we were kids, we didn't see it. Growing up in the hood that I grew up in,
Yeah.
you know, I could probably count on one. I could count on. I could probably name the three dudes that I knew that had a dad,
Mm.
and or just inside of my neighborhood. And I stayed in that neighborhood from second grade all the way until the end of ninth grade.
Right.
And so from second grade to the end of ninth grade, I literally had maybe 2 friends that lived inside of my neighborhood with their like an active dad in their life. And then my favorite friend, when I was in middle school, he lived 2 blocks down. And I used to love going to his house. You know why? Because he had that real TV life. You know,
Mm.
he had the trampoline in the backyard.
Yeah.
When I went to his house, he had, you know, he had the extra refrigerator in the garage that had, you know, snacks and stuff in it. I'm like, God, dog, well, this is kind of raw. You know, I like this. You know,
Right.
and he had a dad and he had his mom and they were successful. And you know, and I look at where he's at in life right now. Um, that same guy, you know, he ended up having a child. Him and his girl, him and his current wife right now, they had a child in high school, and they stayed together. And both of them still went to college and still got their degrees from the University of Florida. And right now they're doing so good. He's a football coach and like one of my favorite dudes out here. But I think I always look at his story and I say, you know, I think he was able to make it through all that what he went through in high school, having a child that early, to because he had a great foundation with his
Right.
mom and his dad, and they were able
And
to
that
keep him
support.
on track. So important, man. But I look at all the rest of us, most of us that came from my hood, man, most all my boys, either I know a few of them dead, got killed, and then the rest, a lot of them are in prison. Or, you know, a few of us we out here doing our thing, you know, we doing all right. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a great contrast um, because we didn't see those things in our neighborhood. We literally just didn't see dads, you know?
Yeah.
And so the TV thing, you know, people like I always talk with my wife. She asks me about, you know, she'll say something about Fresh Prince or something, and I'm like, I don't know. I never really watched it. I saw it before, but I was never too interested because it didn't look like my life.
Gotcha.
And so I never really got too deep into too many shows. You know, I like Martin. You know, it was something funny.
Right, which is
You know,
crazy, and we were so young watching
so
Martin.
young.
Like Fresh Prince probably should have been watching, right? Like,
Exactly.
but it was just like no, like I had one friend that had a dad, and he was, I mean, it was him and his brother, and it was just their dad. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like it seemed like they could do whatever they like. It just seemed like it was so for somebody that didn't have it, and nobody else really had their dad. You know what I mean? My friends, so it was just different. So it was just everything about that seemed like unrelatable at the time.
I got a question for both of y'all, and it kind of ties back into what you were saying earlier about teaching, learning. Part of a father's job is to teach. Who you learn from, who you kind of got some type of wisdom from your pastor, from people that were in church, from some of your boys or whatever. But to both of y'all, what do y'all think the most important things what are the top 2 things that you can teach your children as a father? You know what I mean? Because we all have baseline beliefs. We always have moral, foundations. What are you all's top 2 things that you want to teach your kids?
Off the top of my head, I would say I would want to teach my kids because I believe that I'm living proof of it. That really, if you really put in the work and put your mind to something, there's nothing you cannot do, right? Because just based on the profession of what I'm doing now, I have no business doing any of that at all. But I just said I want to do it, and I did it, right? The other thing is, you know what I mean? It's great to network. It's great to have a reliable circle. You depend on yourself. Always bet on yourself and depend on yourself. Because at the end of the day, like I said, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. And, you know, what you're made of, you can't lose. I know what we're going to put in you. You take these tools, you cannot lose. So believe in yourself. Bet on
Well, you
yourself.
got that
You're going
frown
to
on your face.
succeed.
You mean what you say. Good
And it's
gracious, you
true.
had that wrinkle right here. You meant that.
Hey, man. I
You need to take
did.
that
I
to the
mean that.
football field.
Real talk. Real talk.
I ain't coaching, bro. I'm not coaching. I'm not coaching. And like, yeah. I can tell him believe you can do anything. And I have to go on a little sidebar. But I hate when I be on the sideline and I be talking to my son and I be
Hey
like,
man, come on, let it go,
you
let it
can
go.
do this if you just run fast. This dude just goes over there, just gives me a thumbs up and just keeps going. I'm like, this nigga ain't paying attention to me. But it makes me so mad. It gets on my nerve.
I knew
sorry.
that was gonna set him off.
I'm sorry.
My bad. That was a sore spot.
But no, I like what you said on that. On one part, I do teach my kids the power of not necessarily networking, but being a good person. My kids frequently ask me, "Daddy, why do you got so many friends?" Everywhere we go, we see someone, I know someone, or I'm dapping somebody up, or somebody want to come talk to me. Everywhere we go, even my wife get upset, like, but we always got to stop and talk. And all. I'm like, bruh, I'm just ingratiating myself with people. And, there's even times when somebody will come up to me and they dap me up and they're talking. Then my kids will be like, "Daddy, is that your friend?" I'm like, that's my first time over meeting the person. I don't know who that was, but, I'm just that type of person. And so I have so many, there's so many people that'll do things for me, you know. And I just teach my kids, you just never know who you will meet. You never know the resources that other people have. And you never know when someone else will be able to bless you, you know. But if you're an asshole, and you treat people with disrespect, ain't nobody never gonna want to be around you. No one gonna want to do anything for you, even your own parents. You know, so treat people with respect. Treat people the way that you want to be treated, and respect people in that same way. And that's like a big thing for me. Respect, respect, respect. Give people the respect that you want them to give you.
Right.
That's like one of my biggest life things. Like, I always tell people, I ain't never had to put my hands on nobody, honestly, because I don't put my hands on people, and no one has never put their hands on me. I don't know what it's like to have somebody punch me in my mouth or nothing, because I don't. Man, listen, growing up, when somebody say something to me, or they say they gonna do this, and they talk, hey, as long as you don't put your hands on me, bro. And you know what? Ain't nobody never went that far to put their hands on you, and I just leave it alone. If I know you don't like me, I remove myself from you. And that's just how I've lived my entire life. And 34 years, man, listen, bro, if you don't like me, I guess I don't like you either. Like, even when it came to my pastor, that's why I say, once we got to that point to where it was borderline toxic, man, listen, you go right, I'm going to go left. And I left it there. It had been a whole 3 years since I talked with him or something, because I just leave people where they are,
Right.
and I don't allow people to affect me to the point to where now we going back and forth. Man, I'm gonna just remove myself. So respect people and just give people respect. That's just the biggest thing. And then another thing is know who you are. Always teach, especially I got two daughters. Teaching my daughters who they are and their self-worth and their self-image. You know, I'm big on, I ain't too big on the whole, I don't be too big on my daughters wearing weave and all that. Man, I like your hair. I love your hair. I love you in your natural state. I love how you look. I love everything about you. And I do the same thing with my wife. I love all your flaws. Don't ever let somebody tell you, that you ain't this and you ain't that. Man, I love you for you. And I also teach my son that same stuff, like, be confident in who you are. Don't allow the society's image of how society tells us what's beautiful, especially when it comes to women, bro. Because I did a search one time. I went on Google, even if you do it today, go on Google and type in beautiful woman, and you tell me what the results are going to be. Probably the first 20 to 30 images will be of white women. In all honesty, so if my daughters were to put that in Google, they won't see anything that look like them. And so they might say to themselves, dang, well, I guess I'm not beautiful. Or I don't have eyes that look like that. I don't have hair that look like that. And they would equate that to beauty when that's not what it really is. And so I'm teaching them what real beauty is. It's within, you know. Don't ever look at what you see on that TV or what you see in a magazine and try to measure up to that stuff. Be you, and teaching my son this same stuff, man. Bro, be you. Don't be like everybody else. Don't be a follower. I don't care if everybody else got J's. If you ain't got J's, don't feel like you left out or something, bro. Be you. Be yourself. And that's how I live. I don't care about nothing. I'ma just be me. I'ma dress how I want to dress. I'ma wear what I want to wear. I'ma look just how I'ma be me. People see me out, I'ma look like me. If you don't like it, you just don't like it. That's fine. But I'm big on those two things: that respect and knowing who you are, and especially knowing whose you are. And I'm big on teaching my children that when you look in that Bible, the main white people in there, that's us. That's what I believe. So I'm teaching my kids that same type of stuff. Like, don't ever feel like you less than, because you not. Like, we're great people. So teaching my kids that type of stuff, like, I drill that stuff into them all the time. I hear them talking crazy. Who told you that? Who said you ugly? Who said your hair look like whatever? Like, and I'm drilling that into them.
Yeah.
So I say those are my two important things.
That was 3, but yeah, I got you.
Yep.
Look, I can't tell who was more passionate between you and AJ, because look, y'all both look like y'all ready to square off on somebody.
Nah,
But nah,
No,
let's
no.
go.
I mean, he ain't ready to square, man. I talk too much.
I'm
I definitely got punched in my mouth before. So I'd have got hit. I'd have swung. Shit.
That's funny, though.
Hey,
We know why people walk up to you just randomly talking to you. You got a podcast out there that's running the streets right now.
Yeah. Hey.
So how does that
put your
been?
hands on
How
me,
did
though.
you get yours started? How did your podcast get started?
My podcast was started. I felt like one day I was, I talked about it at the one play at the play.
But
I
these
always
people don't know.
like, well,
Hey, AJ, now I won't gonna say that, but I'm glad you said it, because I look like a bully.
hey, so
I won't there, so I don't know what you're
I was
talking about.
I spoke on at the play, and I was telling them how I felt like we get a lot of backhanded compliments as black dads. For instance, there's times when I would be in the grocery store with my kids, and people would say stuff like, "Oh, I see you out with the kids today," or "I see you, you're babysitting," and stuff like that. Like, because they see me with my kids grocery shopping or doing whatever I do, and people think it's like a temporary thing. Like, "Oh, so you got the kids today?" Like, nah, I'm just being a dad, living regular life. And so I would always kind of feel slighted by stuff like that. And so I started one February. Well, February came around for Black History Month. I'm like, man, you know what? I'm going to highlight 28 dads this month, 28 black dads. And I'm going to tell a story about each one of these black dads out here doing the very things that people say that we don't do. And once I did that, people kind of caught on. They was like, "Oh shoot," and I'm like, "Man, I got like 100 other dads that I could highlight." It was hard to find these 28, and so I said, "You know what? I'm gonna start a podcast and allow these same dads to tell their own stories and tell it instead of me telling it. I'm gonna allow them to. I'm gonna create a platform where they can come on this platform and tell their stories and talk about, their love for their children and their family.
Dope.
Yo, I got another one. Do you get this one? You'd be like, yeah, I got 3 kids. You get, are they with the same mom? You get that
Bro, I
one?
just got it the other day, bro.
That's
Literally,
crazy.
just got it the other day.
Are they
That's
all with the
crazy.
same mom?
Exactly.
We're like, you guess right. No.
I am a statistic.
I am what you thought I was.
That's funny. Hey, so throughout your conversations on your podcast, what's a couple of the biggest things that you learned about a father that you've spoken with, or just through a conversation that you've had?
I've learned that I'm blessed to be in the position that I'm in. It keeps me humble because I complain a lot about things I have going on in life. And then I hear the stories that other guys have and their plight. And I'm like, boy, I
My
ain't
bad.
never
Yeah.
dealt with that. Cause I don't even know how I would even approach that situation. If that was me, so I didn't have kids until I got married. Uh, all my kids are from my wife. All my kids live in the same house with me. And then I hear
Oh, you
of guys.
boring.
Yeah, he's
Boo.
showing off now. Ain't
No, real talk.
he? Yeah,
But
he's
then I
showing
hear
off.
stuff like the one guy at the play, and he was like, his kid lives way in Houston. And I'm like, dang, God, like that'll be so hard to deal with. Like how do you, man? And it literally keeps me humble. Like, anytime I do want to complain, I'm like, bruh, so many guys would give everything to be in the position that I'm in, to be able to put their kids to sleep every night, to wake up to their kids and give them a kiss good night and to go places with their kids anytime they want, and it's like, bro, I'm sitting here complaining, but it's a guy right down the street that's literally fighting in the courts for his children
Yeah.
just to be able to see them, to get visitation, and so, yeah, bro, it's like I got my situation, and then my oldest brother is, he has full custody of his child, of his son, from one of his baby mamas, and then my little brother is literally fighting in the courts for his children. So we're
Wow.
all so different, and I'm like, man, I ain't got nothing to complain about. Like, anytime I do want to complain, I'm like, man, there's so many people who in positions that, totally different than mine. So I ain't got nothing to be complaining about.
Gotcha.
But it's all right. We're gonna be honest here for a second. Like, it's kind of messed up to say this, but it's true. It's like, it's kind of glad to be having them niggas around sometimes, because it's like, whew, God, whenever I'm feeling down, I'm gonna call you because I know.
No, though, like,
I thought I had it, man. But
Hey, yo, you a dirty joker
you're like,
for thinking that.
how what's his name been? Man, I ain't heard from him in about 2 years. The mom, man. I'm like, really? Shit.
Hey, that's
I'm sorry,
dirty.
we going off the rails.
No, you just a dirty joker, buddy. For sure.
No, I mean, but no, because I know I'm that person for other people. Yeah, it's a circle of life.
this man
I know
crazy.
sometimes I call you, you be like, man, well I'm glad I ain't got to do it. Like, it happens. It's part of it.
Now I don't think that, brother. I just laugh. I like, oof. Hey, no, I'm gonna tell you what I say. I say, well, what he got for me today? Now that's what I do say. Well,
Yeah.
what's this? Because sometimes okay, this might sound worse than what you just said. Sometimes it can be like entertainment, because it's like I know that's bad, and I'm not taking it like for granted what my situation is, or even what other people's situation. Sometimes you can be having a bad day, like you said, and just some stuff is so outlandish and so illogical that it's actually entertainment. Like, yo, how are you in this situation? You remember I asked you one day, I don't know what we were talking about. I'm like, yo, did you have a conversation with this? Like, you know what I mean? I asked random people. I'm like, yo, did you actually talk to them? And then this is where y'all ended up? Like, how explain that to me? That's what I get into. I don't get into the actual strife. I get into like, how did y'all get here? And so
Mm,
sometimes it's so insane and so outlandish that I'm like, look, man, this is entertainment, really.
mm,
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But
nah.
Yeah. Well, I
one
don't do
thing
that as
that
much anymore now that I'm a little happier. But when I was down, I needed somebody down with me.
oh god, that
We
was
got to be floating this shit together. You ain't going to the clean side. That's why I wasn't
that's
calling my
funny.
happy friends.
Man, hey, bring it back for a second, because Anthony been talking about a bunch of different things, and a lot of it deals with overall growth and your perspective on fatherhood right now. Um, is something that we can kind of relate to, and in different points and facets. But what was the point where you realized? Because there's no father, and if we honest, there's no father that started out at this level of fatherhood. None of us. We had to grow into it, right? And so, one is two things to this. One, what was it that triggered in you to help you grow into what you? I know it's a everyday learning process. So I don't want to hear that. But what was some of the moments that you experienced or that you went through that helped you grow? And then two, um, what have your kids taught you about you and about being a father?
Ooh. I'm gonna answer that second part first. My kids have taught me that I am very impatient, very, very, very impatient,
Mm-hmm.
and I still haven't conquered that, bro. It's been 10 years, and I almost feel like I have regressed. I feel like I've gotten worse, especially over the last 3 years. I would say I found myself being more. Um, I found myself being more angry. Um, Found myself being very short tempered with them at times, and it's something that I pray about. I read books about it. Go searching on the internet. I ask other people about it, and it's bad. And um, a lot of times it's just things that I'm dealing with within myself because I got so many different things going on in life. And I think it's times when I get upset or I come home from work and I'm tired and I snap, bro.
Mm.
And I'm trying to, at times, the things they're doing aren't even things to be super snapping about.
Right.
But I'm so burdened with life, things that I got going on within myself, and I take it out on them. I say a lot of mean things to them at times, and they'll tell me, and they just say straight up, "Well, Daddy, you always say that, the last time you said you weren't gonna call us mean things, but you just did it again, and I just don't believe you anymore."
Mm-hmm.
And every time they say stuff like that, bro, it stops me in my tracks, and I'm like, bro, this like they're not lying. Like I literally just said this 2 days ago. Like, what do I look like
Yeah.
as a man and as their dad? I'm telling them things, but then I'm getting on them saying the same stuff. You told me you was gonna do this, and then you didn't do it. And then they bring it right back up in my face, and it's like I can't fight against that. And I try to teach them like I gotta be held accountable, just like I'm gonna hold you accountable. And I give my kids that freedom to tell me stuff like that, like say that to me, and I still be mad, but it always brings me back, and I'm like, damn, they right. And I gotta really deal with myself internally. Um, so that's something that my kids are teaching me literally like every day, bro. And the first part of that question, where it really hit me that I really needed to get things right, was 2017. We were homeless for like 4 months, really like
Mm.
5 or 6 months. And my wife and my two youngest kids had to go up to Chicago with her family from out there for like 4 months, while me and my oldest daughter stayed back with my mom until I got things right. And during those 4 months, man, I had a lot of soul searching to do, and realized that, I needed to be a better husband and also a better dad. And so since 2018, I've really been on that journey to try to just do better. But like I say, I'm still working on it. But yeah, 2017 was that year for me, for real, for real.
Nah.
Well, to go off of what you said, the fact that you can acknowledge and understand that that's something that you need to work on is progress. It is great progress, because you got to think is, I don't even know if it's an era thing, but there's a time where as a kid you can't say that to your parent.
Real
Like, what do
talk.
you mean? Like you told me not to do. Well, shut up. Like
Hmm.
straight up, that's just the way it
Real talk.
was. Like what are you talking about? Like, I can do no wrong. I might not say that, but you might say something that I said was wrong. Like, shut up. Go to your room.
Hmm.
Don't worry.
Straight up.
So the fact that you're even taking the time to do that is far ahead of a lot of people, including myself, because I don't even know if my daughter was like, "Well, you told me don't do that," like, so, like that's just like,
Yeah.
to be
Real
honest.
talk.
So just acknowledging that, just
I thought he was
I
about to
wouldn't
lie.
get too hard on your. I wouldn't get too hard on yourself. Nah, I was gonna lie. I wouldn't get too hard on yourself about it, because the fact that you acknowledge it is far more than other people do.
Real talk.
AJ, I like the way you said that because you really making this sound like it's a therapy session. And I'm gonna tell you why that's important. Is because everything that you said is stuff that we deal with as men. You right? Now, I always joke like, yo, we do therapy sessions twice a week, right? That is true. Because every time we have a conversation, it's something that we can kind of grab to. Because one thing that I've learned throughout these conversations, and it goes right to what you were saying, like, the burdens of the day, the burdens of being a man, the burdens of trying to provide, protect, teach, all those things. Not only dealing with the world, dealing with our counterparts, and based on what in the ever industry that you're working in, those things can become stressful. Not only that, all of us, no matter how successful we are or how much progress we're making, if you're a person of determination and achievement, you're always striving for the next, right? So you automatically put a little bit
Hmm.
more pressure on them. And I say all that to say, when we come home, sometimes we forget that our home should be the safe space, right?
Mm.
And the number one thing about the safe space is that our kids, if we're honest and can look at it objectively, our kids do not care about anything that we have to deal with because they're oblivious to it. I mean, not that they don't care
Straight
or
up.
would try to want. They
They
have
just
no
don't know.
Right.
idea what it is because they're kids, they're children, right?
Hmm.
And so
Mm.
when they're getting on our nerves, when they we really want them to be quiet. Sometimes we forget and like, look, man, will you shut up, or will you go sit down, or if you didn't do it, why are you being lazy, why are you doing this, or come on now, I've taught you better than that, or whatever. And then they say something to us, or we see that we hurt them, or we see that like hurt their feelings, you know what I mean, because of something we may have said, or us telling them, no, we don't, I don't feel like doing this right now. And the joy that seeps out of their bodies, you can visually see it.
Yeah.
And then we take a step back. And when we take a step back and have time to catch our breath, or in my case, to TMI, I go sit in the bathroom for a little bit. You know what I mean, or
Real
whatever,
talk.
just to kind of get yourself together. And we realize the innocence with which what they're doing, they just care about us and our presence and being able to do things with us or
Hmm.
talk to us or share something that we can care less about or have no idea what they're talking about. But at the time, we snapped and didn't give them a chance, right? Now I don't say, well, sometimes it's not warranted because maybe they're not listening or maybe or whatever. But I think sometimes we can do it a little bit too much or too aggressively, right?
Mm,
And then one thing that I'm working on is I don't want to always have to go back and apologize
mm,
because sometimes the way I tell people is your words don't mean anything to me. Like you can tell me anything. I don't care what you say to me. And that's with anybody. You can say whatever you want to say to me. It's what you do following up what you said to me what means something. And
Right.
then so when I say I apologize to my son or my daughter, I try to follow it up with an action that shows that I really mean it so that way my words don't become stale. You know what I mean? So, it's something that we all, now, I'm not going to say we all, but I know through the conversation with us three, I know we go through that sometimes, but it takes a level of self awareness, like AJ was saying, for us to actually outwardly admit that, because I think it's a lot of men that claim to be super manly that don't want to admit that that is a truth, or they want to admit that act like there is no feeling. To me, I've learned that I do have feelings when it comes to hurting my kids' feelings.
oh my God.
Now, I wasn't always that way. Now, I will admit that because I've always been a person that many considered that I had no feelings for nothing. Right? I mean, I've been accused of that almost all of my life, but especially over the last 4 years, I say I've grown more inwardly aware that I do care. I may not seem like it, or I may not know how to communicate that because of my delivery with my words, or my word choice selection is not always the most appropriate for based on the situation. Because I don't like dancing around what I got to say, and so, but at the same time, I can actually do a little bit of self reflection and self inventory to understand. Okay, you don't have to do that, but it's hard to keep that in mind all the time. Now, I'm not going to say I'm perfect, like you said, and then you said you're not always perfect. I'm not always perfect, but I'm trying to improve each and every day with it though. But it's definitely hard, especially in this new era with these sensitive kids.
So,
I don't even want to get into that.
so,
Oh man. But look, we've had a great conversation. We're going to start to get you out of here, and we're going to ask you the question that we talked about at the play. Before we go any further, we keep saying the play, the play, the
Yeah,
play.
man, y'all. I don't even know what y'all
Um,
talking about.
we were panelists at a play called Child Support.
mhm.
That was, just talking about, I guess, the black mothers' issues when it comes to whether or not to take their baby father to child support and how it affects the kid and things of that nature. So we ain't gonna get into all of that, but that's where we were, right? And the question I asked there is a question we ask on here all the time is, what would you want your legacy as a father to be?
I want my kids, in my children's eyes, I would like for them to know that, they had a dad that truly cared about them. Like I really, really, what Eli just said, one thing I never want my kids to do is I don't want my words to be stale to them. I don't want them to feel like, man, my daddy used to just always talk. That's all he did. Like I just don't want to be one of those dads. Just like when I tell them I'm gonna do something, I want to do it. Like I want my yes to be yes and my no to be no. Like I
Mm.
literally want that to be my legacy with my kids. Like when my kids think of me, when I'm dead and gone, they gonna say, man, my daddy always did what he said he was gonna do. Like, and my daddy always kept it real. If he couldn't do it, my daddy just told you straight up no. And I want that to be what my kids always remember. And because um I didn't grow up with my dad, but I had a semi relationship with him for a short period of time. And one thing I always say about my dad, even though he wasn't really active with me or anything, one thing I always remember about him is that he always told me he loved me. Even if I just saw him once a year, I might see him on Christmas at my granny house or see him on Thanksgiving or something. And when he would pop up at the house, I'm like, oh, shoot, Pop. We dap it up. We had talk sports or whatever. And then before he leave, he'd be like, he'll hug me all the time. He hugged me, and he'll always say, "Well, I love you." And when he was in prison, he would write letters to me and just tell me how much he loved me. It was like always just a love letter, like how much he loved me, and he hoped I'm doing right. Listen to your mom. Go to school, make something of yourself. And still to this day, my dad always called me and tell me he loved me. And I always believed that. Even though he wasn't there, and now that I've gotten older and know what he went through, I'm like, yeah, Pops, I do believe that. I do believe he loved me. So, I want my kids to look at me like I want that to be like, ain't no question about it. Man, when this man told me he was gonna do something, he did it. Like no question in their mind.
No, that's super dope because that highlights wanting to be a father of integrity and trusting. You can be trusted, and I mean that's a perfect way to wrap up this conversation. But before we go, please tell everybody where they can find your podcast, where they can follow you on social media. Give all your information so that way they can keep getting these gems from you.
For sure, for sure. You can find me at Dad Can We Talk on Facebook, or on Facebook you can find me at my real name, Anthony Reshad, like R-E with the apostrophe
Yeah, don't nobody know how
S-H-O-D.
to spell that.
Yep.
That's something that was made up. So we all right.
So Anthony Reshad Ray Ray, or on Instagram, Dad Can We Talk, Twitter, Dad Can We Talk, YouTube, Dad Can We Talk, or you can simply go to my website at dadcanwetalk.com, and you will find everything else there. You will find all the social media pages, the YouTube page. The episodes are streaming right there on the website. And really, that's how you find me, man.
Dope.
And it's also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Dope.
Yeah.
Dope. Well, we appreciate your time, man, and I can't wait till we have this conversation again. We might even we'll make a guest appearance on your joint so we can have let you tell us what to talk about. But
man.
again, it was perfect, man. I really appreciate it. We had about 27 minutes of therapy. Then we had about 5 minutes of jokes, but it don't matter. It's always great conversation, man, and look forward to talking to you again. But
yeah, appreciate y'all, man.
all right.